I saw one of her exes somewhere at a game somewhere, and I shook his hand. Boy, I can't even touch his ass no more. I better not acknowledge him or look at him or nothing no more. So I'm off limits.
Just remember that you're the prize always.
Say that one more time.
Just remember that you are the prize.
Yes!
That's like his golden slogan for me.
Yeah.
Is a father's loyalty to his daughter's ego officially more important than basic human decency? Or has the Harvey household officially become a North Korean-style regime where even breathing in the direction of an ex-boyfriend gets you exiled? Because what we just witnessed at the Oscars wasn't just a snub, it was a coordinated, tactical strike of pure, unadulterated saltiness. While the rest of the world was on its feet, tears streaming, celebrating Michael B. Jordan making history as he clutched that gold statue, one man stayed glued to his seat like his tuxedo was made of Gorilla Glue. Steve Harvey. The man who has a 24-hour megaphone for every moral lesson under the sun suddenly lost his voice. But wait, it gets darker. You saw the headlines. You saw the viral clip from the BAFTAs where a man screamed the most disgusting racial slur at Michael and Delroy Lindo on a global stage. The entire industry stood up. The world roared in support. And Steve? Cricket sounds. Why? Because according to the Harvey law, if you're Laurie's ex, you're not just dead to her, you're dead to the ancestors, the morning show, and apparently, the entire concept of black excellence. Tonight, we are peeling back the curtain on the most toxic daddy-daughter pact in Hollywood. We're talking about the secret orders Laurie gave Steve, the shaking hands incident that almost got Steve kicked out of his own house, and why the Harveys are acting like Michael winning an Oscar is a personal hate crime against their family. Grab your tea, pull up a chair, and don't even blink, because the level of pettiness we're about to expose, it's not just industry drama. It's a full-blown psychological thriller. Is Steve Harvey a protective father? Or is he officially Laurie's most obedient employee? Let's get into it. Now, let's dive into the most controversial and massive part of this entire story, which has become the internet's biggest spectacle over the last few months. When we talk about Hollywood power couples, the names Michael B. Jordan and Laurie Harvey were always at the top of the list, but even 4 years after their split, the fire hasn't cooled down. Instead, it has split social media into two warring factions. On one side, we have Michael B. Jordan, sitting at a career peak that every actor dreams of reaching. On the other side, we have the Harvey family, who, by all appearances, are still burning in the flames of an old grudge. The real scandal exploded during this year's award season when Michael B. Jordan achieved something Steve Harvey likely never expected. Michael won the Best Actor Oscar for his film Sinners, and while the entire world stood on its feet to applaud him, there was a silence amidst the celebration that screamed louder than any noise. That silence belonged to Steve Harvey. The man who sits on his show every day giving relationship advice, the man who never misses a chance to voice his opinion on every headline, sat there as if someone had taped his mouth shut regarding his daughter's ex-boyfriend's monumental achievement. But friends, this silence wasn't just limited to an award. What happened at the BAFTAs just a few days prior was enough to make people lose faith in basic humanity. While Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo stood on stage, someone in the audience hurled a racial slur at them. The N-word was used on live television, and the entire black community was rightfully outraged. Every major celebrity posted messages of support for Michael and Delroy, condemning this disgusting act. But guess what? Our very own Steve Harvey remained silent then, too. People are now asking, can a father be so blinded by the grief of his daughter's breakup that he stops speaking out against massive issues like racial discrimination and blatant racism? Is Michael B. Jordan being Laurie's ex such a cardinal sin that Steve no longer cares about the attacks Michael faces? In this investigative report, the things we have discovered will blow your mind. We have information suggesting that this silence isn't a coincidence but a calculated strategy. Steve Harvey's household operates like a dictatorship where the remote control is firmly in Laurie Harvey's hands. You might have seen Steve admit on a recent podcast that Laurie scolded him just for being friendly with Michael. He stated clearly that the rule in their house is, if he is Laurie's ex, he is Steve's ex too, and he is obligated to hate him. While that might sound like a joke on the surface, when you look at it through the lens of reality, it's incredibly toxic and dangerous. A man over 60 years old, who teaches the world about family values, is ignoring a man who built his name through hard work, all because his daughter said so. Lori Harvey is often called the IT girl of the industry, and her track record shows a pattern of dating high-profile men one after another before leaving them in the rearview mirror. Whether it's Future, Michael B. Jordan, or now Damson Idris, the story always seems to follow the same script. But with Michael, things are different because after the breakup, he never looked back. His career graph skyrocketed in a way that the Harveys seemingly can't stomach. According to our sources, Lori has given Steve strict orders that Michael's name is never to be mentioned in their home or on any of his public platforms. It's a form of social boycott that Lori has initiated against Michael. But the question remains, why so much hate? Did Michael actually cheat, as those anonymous reports claimed? We investigated those reports too. In June 2022, when the two split, the internet was suddenly flooded with claims that Michael was busy on FaceTime with another woman. People were saying Michael betrayed Lori and she kicked him out. But here is the massive hole in that story. If Michael had committed such a huge mistake, why was Steve Harvey so warm and friendly with him at that basketball game shortly after? Steve should have been ready to confront Michael if he had truly broken his daughter's heart. Instead, Steve greeted him like a son. This suggests that the cheating stories were likely manufactured by Lori's team to dump the entirety of the breakup blame on Michael and paint Lori as the victim. Michael B. Jordan never stooped to that level. He maintained a classy stance, focused on his work, and delivered a masterpiece with Sinners. The Harveys' pettiness was fully exposed when Michael was nominated for the Oscar. Lori used her boyfriend Damson Idris for constant public displays of affection, seemingly trying to steal Michael's limelight. But Oscar night changed everything. Michael's win and his emotional speech, mentioning his parents who flew in all the way from Ghana, won the world's heart. For Steve Harvey, this was a massive metaphorical slap in the face because he had spent so much energy trying to diminish Michael, yet Michael answered with undeniable success. We've learned that on Oscar night, Lori gave Steve strict instructions to stay home or at least refrain from commenting on Michael. Steve, who is a staple on red carpets, was suspiciously low-key. People are saying Steve is sacrificing his integrity just to keep the peace in his house. This isn't financial corruption. It's a corruption of character. When you ignore a man facing racial abuse just because your daughter might get annoyed, you've lost your moral compass. What happened to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo at the BAFTAs was an international scandal. The BBC apologized, the BAFTAs launched an independent review, yet Steve Harvey didn't utter a word on his morning show. This is the same Steve who preaches act like a lady, think like a man every day, yet his own behavior mirrors that of a petty schoolboy. Industry insiders are now whispering about Steve and Lori's behavior. Some suggest that Lori might hold a secret over Steve that forces him to obey her every whim. It's hard for anyone to swallow that a father could hate his daughter's ex so much that he forgets basic human decency. Michael B. Jordan's career growth has backed the Harveys into a corner. Michael has shown he doesn't need a Harvey to make his mark. He has joined the ranks of giants like Sidney Poitier and Denzel Washington. Lori Harvey is currently with Damson Idris, but many believe Damson is just another rebound used to maintain her image. When Michael won the Oscar, Lori suddenly started posting a barrage of pictures with Damson, trying to convince the world she was blissfully happy. But the effort is backfiring because people can see the underlying jealousy. Michael's success has proven that the prize wasn't Lori, it was Michael. Lori always says, "Remember you are the prize," but it looks like the prize slipped through her fingers, and now she's just burning from the reflection of its glow. We will dig even deeper into the fallout and reveal how Steve Harvey's silence has alienated his own fans, and how Michael B. Jordan has become a never-ending nightmare for the Harveys. The story doesn't end here, friends, because we've only scratched the surface. The real investigative reports are coming, proving that Steve Harvey's double standards are going to cost him dearly and showing how Lori Harvey's control is destroying their family reputation. Michael B. Jordan's victory has cracked the walls of the Harvey empire, and those walls are about to come crumbling down. We will see how the rest of the industry is handling this situation, and how a new group is forming to support Michael against the Harveys' behavior. Where we bring you the leak reports from anonymous sources detailing the true reason for the breakup and how Lori manipulated Steve. Michael B. Jordan's victory isn't just his own. It's a win for everyone who escapes toxic control and manages to shine. The Harvey silence has become their biggest defeat, and we are going to perform a full post-mortem so you can see the truth. Stay tuned, because the story is about to get even more interesting with secrets coming to light that Steve Harvey never wanted revealed. Moving deeper into the investigation, we have to look at the mechanics of how the Harvey PR machine actually functions when they are backed into a corner. When Michael B. Jordan walked onto that Oscar stage, he wasn't just holding a trophy. He was holding the physical evidence that Lori Harvey's The Prize narrative had completely collapsed. You see, for years, the Harveys have cultivated this image that Lori is the ultimate goal, and anyone who loses her has hit rock bottom. But how do you sell that story when the ex is becoming the most powerful man in Hollywood? Because when you can't outshine someone, the next move in the industry playbook is to erase them. According to leaked reports from sources close to the production of Steve's various platforms, there was an actual blackout memo circulated. This wasn't just a father being protective. This was a professional directive. The reports suggest that any mention of the film Sinners or Michael's nomination was strictly forbidden on the set of Steve's morning show. Think about the level of control required to keep a man like Steve Harvey, who literally talks for a living, from mentioning the biggest movie of the year. It's like trying to hide an elephant in a bathtub. But Steve didn't just hide it. He acted like the elephant didn't exist even when it was stepping on his toes. The investigation into the Pivot podcast admission reveals even more layers of this psychological warfare. When Steve mentioned that Lori got in his face for shaking Michael's hand at a basketball game, he tried to play it off as a funny girl-dad moment. But industry psychologists and body language experts who analyzed that clip saw something much more concerning. Steve's laughter was nervous. He wasn't describing a healthy family boundary. He was describing a man who is terrified of his own daughter's temper. The X is my ex rule is essentially a social death penalty. By forcing Steve to adopt her grudges, Lori isn't just protecting her peace, she's weaponizing her father's massive platform to punish Michael. But why the punishment? If the breakup was truly about being on different pages as People magazine reported, there would be no need for this level of hostility. If Lori truly just wanted to be young and free, she would be celebrating Michael's success from a distance, or at the very least, remaining neutral. The fact that she has mandated a total public blackout suggests that the pages they were on were far more scandalous than we were led to believe. Our anonymous sources indicate that the cheating rumors may have been a double-edged sword. While some claimed Michael was the one on FaceTime, others have whispered that Lori's team planted those stories specifically to preemptively destroy Michael's reputation before he could tell his side of the story. Let's look at the Damson Idris factor in this investigation. Every time Michael hits a career milestone, Lori and Damson appear in a high-fashion, high-gloss photo shoot. When Michael's trailer for Sinners dropped, Lori and Damson were suddenly spotted on a yacht. When Michael won the Golden Globe, Lori posted a cryptic message about knowing your worth. It's a pattern of reactive narcissism. The problem for Lori is that Damson Idris, as talented as he is being used as a prop in a game of look how much better I'm doing. But the world isn't looking at the yacht, they're looking at the Oscar. The fallout from the BAFTA N-word attack is where the Harvey family truly lost the locker room of public opinion. In the black community, there is an unwritten rule. No matter the personal beef, when a brother is attacked by the system or by racism, you stand up. By staying silent during that international incident, Steve Harvey didn't just snub Michael, he betrayed the culture. Our investigative findings show that several of Steve's long-term sponsors were actually concerned about his silence. They wondered why a community leader wouldn't speak out against a blatant act of racism at a major award show. The answer, as we now know, was sitting in a mansion in Los Angeles, telling her father to keep his mouth shut because she was still salty about a relationship that ended years ago. Furthermore, we've uncovered details about the Lori Harvey playbook. It's a strategy designed to keep her in the headlines without her actually having to produce anything other than skincare and Instagram posts. By maintaining this aura of being too cool for her exes, she keeps the mystery alive. But Michael B. Jordan broke the spell. He didn't chase her. He didn't post sad songs on his story. He went to the gym, he went to the director's chair, and he went to the podium. His silence was louder than her social media posts, And that is what drove the Harveys to this extreme level of pettiness. Inside the Harvey household, sources say the tension is at an all-time high. Steve's other children are reportedly frustrated that the family brand is being dragged into the mud just to satisfy Laurie's ego. There are rumors of a rift between Steve and his other daughters because the Laurie rules apply to everyone. If you want to be in Steve's good graces, you have to be on Laurie's team. This is a classic case of family enmeshment, where one child's emotional whims dictate the entire family's moral compass. The most damning piece of evidence in this section of our investigation is the comparison of Steve's reaction to other celebrities. When Will Smith hit Chris Rock, Steve had an opinion. When Kanye West went on his rants, Steve had an opinion. When T.I. was in the news, Steve had an opinion. He is the king of the hot take. So, the statistical probability of him having no opinion on a historic Black Oscar win and a major racial incident is 0. It is a forced silence. It is a scripted omission. And what about Michael? Our sources say Michael is well aware of the Harvey ban. In fact, people close to him say he finds it more sad than annoying. He remembers the Steve Harvey who used to give him advice on set, the man who acted like a mentor. To see that man turned into a silent observer who can't even offer a public congratulations because his daughter is watching his Twitter feed is a tragedy of character. Michael has chosen the high road, but that high road is making the Harveys look like they're stuck in the mud. As we look at the financial implications, the Sinners box office numbers are breaking records. Michael B. Jordan is now a bankable A-list star with the hardware to back it up. Meanwhile, the Steve Harvey morning show has seen a slight dip in engagement among younger listeners who find his old school takes out of touch, especially when they see the blatant hypocrisy in how he handles his daughter's drama. The investigation shows that fans are tired of the prize narrative. They want authenticity. They want to see a black father celebrate a black man's success regardless of who he dated in his 20s. We are going to look at the endgame. What happens when Laurie's next relationship fails? Does Steve have to add another name to his hate list? Is his podcast eventually just going to be a list of men he's not allowed to talk to? We will also explore the secret meetings that reportedly took place between Michael's team and industry leaders regarding the BAFTA incident, and how Steve Harvey's absence from those conversations has permanently altered his standing in Hollywood's inner circle. The story is shifting from a breakup drama to a case study in how to ruin a legacy by prioritizing pettiness over principle. Michael B. Jordan isn't just an actor anymore. He's a symbol of what happens when you outgrow a toxic environment and flourish. And the Harveys. They are a symbol of what happens when you stay behind, trying to blow out someone else's candle so yours looks brighter. But Michael's light is now a spotlight, and it's shining directly on the Harveys' inconsistencies. Stay with us as we move into the final part of this explosive report. We are going to break down the resignation rumors and the potential public apology that Steve's PR team is allegedly drafting to save his reputation before the backlash becomes irreversible. The Harvey law is about to be challenged in the court of public opinion, and the verdict is not looking good for Steve or Laurie. And it is the most shocking conclusion we've ever produced. We're going to ask the questions that no one else dares to ask. Is Steve Harvey actually being bullied by his own daughter? And is Michael B. Jordan's Oscar win the final nail in the coffin for the Laurie Harvey era? Don't go anywhere. As we enter the final and most explosive phase of this investigation, we have to look at the endgame because the walls are finally closing in on the Harvey empire. You can only maintain a facade for so long before the public starts to see the cracks, and right now, those cracks are wide enough to sink a yacht. We are looking at a total collapse of the Steve Harvey moral authority brand. For decades, Steve has built a multi-million-dollar business out of being the voice of wisdom, the father figure of the community, and the man who tells it like it is. But you can't tell it like it is when you're being told what to do by a 29-year-old socialite who is more concerned with Instagram aesthetics than human decency. The endgame began the moment Michael B. Jordan's name was read at the Oscars. Sources close to the Academy say that the energy in the room was electric, but the energy in the Harvey section was radioactive. Our investigative findings suggest that Steve's PR team has been in crisis mode for the last 72 hours. There are internal memos leaked from his media company indicating that they are terrified of the Uncle Tom and sellout narratives that are starting to trend on Twitter and TikTok. People are not just calling Steve petty, they are calling him a hypocrite. They are asking how a man who hosted a show called Steve Harvey's Funderdome can't fund a single ounce of support for a brother who was racially abused on a global stage. We have uncovered reports that there was a secret meeting between Steve's top producers and a crisis management firm in Los Angeles. The topic: how to soften the Lori Harvey influence in the public eye. The data shows that Lori's prize brand is becoming a liability for Steve's family man brand. When fans see Steve admitting on podcasts that he is off limits and can't even shake a man's hand because of his daughter's orders, it doesn't make him look like a good dad, it makes him look compromised. It makes the public wonder what else Lori is controlling. Is she picking his guests? Is she editing his scripts? Is the Steve Harvey we see on TV just a puppet for his daughter's social life? And let's talk about the Damson Idris of it all. Our investigation into the timeline reveals a very desperate pattern. Every time a major story about Michael B. Jordan's success breaks, a leak happens about Lori and Damson being closer than ever or discussing marriage. But the industry knows the truth. Damson is a rising star in his own right, but in the Harvey household, he is currently being used as a shield. He is the distraction to keep people from asking why the family is so obsessed with the ex. However, sources say even Damson is starting to feel the heat. Imagine being the new guy and realizing that your girlfriend's entire family is legally obligated to hate her ex-boyfriend 24/7. It creates an environment of insecurity that is unsustainable. If the ex is my ex rule applies to Michael, it will eventually apply to Damson, and he knows it. Fallout of silence. We've received word from anonymous sources within the industry that Michael B. Jordan's team has officially blacklisted the Harveys in return. Not with a dramatic announcement, but with a silent, professional wall. Michael is now moving in circles that the Harveys can't even touch. He's producing with the biggest studios, he's mentored by the legends of cinema, and he is becoming a global icon. When Steve Harvey finally realizes that his daughter's pettiness has cost him a seat at the most important table in Hollywood, it will be too late. There are even whispers of a Project Redemption being planned by Steve's team. Our investigative findings suggest that Steve might be planning a surprise segment on his show where he randomly discusses the importance of black excellence in cinema, hoping to sneak in a compliment to Michael without triggering Lori's wrath. But will the public buy it? Or is it too little, too late? You can't ignore a man being called the N-word and then try to celebrate his Oscar win 3 weeks later once you see which way the wind is blowing. That's not leadership. That's damage control. The financial consequences are also starting to manifest. Our reports show that engagement on Lori's SKN brand has plateaued. The it girl magic is fading because the narrative has shifted from her being the girl every man wants to the girl who can't let go. The internet is a cruel place, and once the bitter label is attached to you, it's hard to wash off. Meanwhile, Michael B. Jordan's Sinners is projected to be one of the highest-grossing R-rated films of the decade. He is winning, and he is winning while being a class act. That contrast is what is destroying the Harvey reputation. We also looked into the Baptist church incident where that individual shouted a slur at Michael. Our investigation found that several prominent black leaders reached out to Steve privately, asking him to use his platform to address the rising tide of public disrespect toward black actors. Steve reportedly declined, citing family reasons. Let that sink in. A man who built his entire career on the support of the black community chose his daughter's grudge over his community's struggle. This is the definition of a legacy in crisis. As we wrap up this investigative script, the question isn't whether Michael B. Jordan will continue to succeed, he's already gone. He's in the stratosphere. The question is whether Steve Harvey can survive the Lori era. If he continues to allow a 20-something's dating drama to dictate his professional integrity, he will go down in history as a man who was off limits to his own greatness. The Harvey law might keep the peace in their mansion, but it has started a war with the public's respect. The most disturbing leak we've found is a transcript from a supposed phone call between a family associate and a major network executive. The executive reportedly asked, "Is Steve okay? He's acting like he's under house arrest." That is the perception in Hollywood right now. Steve Harvey is a king who has been locked in the basement by his own daughter's insecurities. And while he sits there in silence, Michael B. Jordan is out there living a life that is the ultimate revenge. The Mom's Joyce clause and the Laurie rules are all part of a larger culture of control that is finally being exposed. This isn't just about a breakup anymore. It's about a family that is so obsessed with their brand that they forgot to be human. When you can't celebrate a historic win for a man who shares your skin color and your industry, you haven't just lost a friend, you've lost your way. So, as the curtain falls on this award season, Michael B. Jordan stands tall with his Oscar, his dignity, and the support of the world. And Steve Harvey? He stands in the shadows, waiting for permission to speak, waiting for permission to be a man, and waiting for Laurie to tell him who he's allowed to like next. It's a tragic end to a legendary career, and it's all because they couldn't handle the fact that the prize decided to win on his own terms. This concludes our deep dive investigation into the silence of the Harveys. The evidence is clear, the sources have spoken, and the public has made its decision. Michael B. Jordan is the champion, and the Harveys are just spectators in their own decline. Now for the final call to action. What do you think about this level of control? Is Steve Harvey just being a loyal father, or has he officially lost his spine to Laurie's ego? Do you believe the rumors that Steve is actually afraid of what Laurie might reveal if he doesn't follow her orders? And most importantly, is Michael B. Jordan better off without the Harvey weight around his neck? Drop your comments below because we know you have thoughts on this one. Don't forget to hit that like button if you think Michael B. Jordan deserved that Oscar and that Steve Harvey needs to find his voice again. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the Harvey family is scrambling, and we will be the first to bring you the news when the next leak drops. This is investigative truth in a world of manufactured lies. Stay tuned. And there you have it, the absolute, unfiltered truth behind the silence that has left Hollywood and the entire internet in a state of total shock. We've laid out the facts, the leaked household mandates, and the undeniable timeline of a legendary career being held hostage by a daughter's unresolved grudge. Michael B. Jordan didn't just win an Oscar, he won his freedom from the Harvey shadow, and his success is clearly a pill that Steve and Laurie just cannot swallow. But now, the real. Is Steve Harvey a hero for showing this level of loyalty to his daughter? Or has he officially become a cautionary tale of what happens when a grown man lets a socialite run his moral compass? Does Laurie Harvey actually have a reason to be this off-limits? Or is she just terrified that Michael's glowing success makes her look like a footnote in his history? And let's get real, if Damson Idris is watching this right now, should he be worried that his name is next on the Harvey blacklist? I want to hear your takes in the comments right now. Don't hold back. Is the Harvey empire crumbling under the weight of its own pettiness? Smash that like button if you think Michael B. Jordan is the ultimate winner in this entire saga, and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Harvey's PR team is working overtime to bury these reports, but we are just getting started. You don't want to miss our next update when the next family secret inevitably leaks. Stay tuned, stay woke, and remember, the truth always wins in the end.